Hello, and thank you for joining me for this session. I am so excited to announce to you that the third edition of the book that Jesse and I wrote um, years ago, called Mining for Gold in Your Relationship, is going to be released very soon. It's going to be released in print form. It was released in print form before. It's also going to be released in audio because we actually read the book out loud um, when we completed it years ago. And I found that this is a good time for me to release it again because I'm planning on having a way to support couples to implement the steps in the book, like Jesse and I did when we did weekend workshops with couples. And since I'm not doing the weekend workshops live without him, I found another way to support couples to have that experience. So, the purpose of the book. Now, many of us know, and you've probably heard me say before, that love and marriage brings out the best version of ourselves. We're feeling good and we're feeling connected. It's easy peasy, right? However, when things go off track, something else happens and another version of ourselves comes out because we become defensive. And the way we impact each other when we become defensive um, reflects not the best version of ourselves. And so, what Jesse and I thought about when we got our ideas together for the book was to support couples and guide them through very specific steps of I think it's called the learning ladder or it's called the growth ladder. I don't know who came up with the term, but it's used in a lot of coaching programs. Came up with a way to support couples to go from step one, which is understanding what they um, don't know that they don't know about themselves, but they don't know that they don't know about their partners. Step two, and then how they function when they don't have that information. And then step two is having the information and being introduced to the skills to turn things around. And then the third stage is once you know what to do, you have the understanding and awareness, then you practice it like over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes automatic and there is awareness. There's instant awareness for, um, there's awareness about uh, the growth that's trying to happen. And since you've practiced over and over and over again, it's like you're responding to each other in positive ways without even thinking about it. Okay, so that's the big purpose. So my goal is to introduce the book to you and what it's all about in two parts. So in part one, I'm going to share a compelling story in the book about a couple I'm calling Ben and Ada. And it's about their journey to discovering what it is they didn't know that they didn't know about themselves and each other. And um, when they got to the point that they were going to stop being in conflict style to turn things around. So this story is just not a narrative about their story. It's a reflection of the common challenges that many couples have in marriage and their love relationships. So before I go further, if you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Malva Johnson. I'm co-founder of the Johnson Relationship Institute for Couples and co-author of the book. And I say co-founder and co-author because I didn't found this by myself and I didn't write this book by myself. It was all in partnership with my beloved late husband, Jesse. so, so let me just paint the picture of the struggle of Ben and Ada. So their story, this is a slice of the segment of what happened to the two of them in the heat of the moment. And so it starts with a scene, a snapshot of what happens to many, many, many couples. So this is what happened. So Both Ada and Ben have really great jobs, but they are stressful jobs. And so there's a lot of good things that happen that they're excited about, in addition to the stress that they have. So this particular day, Ada comes home very, very excited about a professional success she had at work. I believe she had a promotion or something like that. And she was so excited when she got home to share her good news with Ben. Now, Ben was exhausted from his day of work. And so he didn't meet her with the enthusiasm that she brought home. And so she was really disappointed. She said, you're just sitting there with the remote in your hand and you're not saying anything about this exciting news. And so they got into an argument. So at some point, Ada gets really upset, and sobbing, she retreats and leaves the room. Ben is feeling attacked, and so he feels accused, and he withdraws into himself. It's like, what did I do wrong? I'm just trying to relax. I'm trying to get myself together after the stress that I had at work today. And so this is something that I've heard a lot over all these years working with couples, that one person gets triggered, the other person's not in a place to hear where they're coming from, and so they both go into defenses. Now, one thing I want to share with you is that in those moments, there is something going on beneath the surface that neither partner knows anything about. It's like the unconscious part of the brain is operating. During those moments, the unconscious part of the brain, it's two parts of the brain, they're asking two questions. In this moment, am I feeling emotionally safe with this person? I'm triggered. I've got all of these feelings. The answer is no. The answer is no. The second question that this unconscious part of the brain asks, in this moment, am I feeling loved by this person that I care about? In the heat of the moment, the answer is no. And so since they didn't know that, they got stuck in, like many couples, got stuck in a power struggle of arguing. And it didn't just have to be about that. Over the 15 years that they've been married, they would have communication breakdown about other things. But see, they didn't know what was going on beneath the surface. So repetition over and over, they got stuck. So because they didn't know better, and they didn't know what was going on, and they got stuck in this place, they did understand at some point that because they were stuck, that their relationship was at risk. The very survival of their relationship was at risk, meaning there was going to be, a deepening of the emotional divide. Resentment was going to continue to build. Bitterness was going to continue to build. They knew that we were losing a sense of partnership and togetherness. And they knew that they were uncomfortable with the hostile, sometimes hostile. And these were just during the moments when communication broke down. Either hostile or uncomfortable home environment during those moments. And they also, at some point, understood that if they didn't turn things around, if they didn't have a way to discover how to approach this differently and find out what was really going on and what to do about it, that their relationship could end, or they would live together in a state of unhappiness and tension. And they deserved better. They knew that if they didn't resolve, have a different way of approaching their differences, that the additional consequences would be chronic unhappiness, chronic unhappiness. There would be an impact on their mental health and their emotional health, and there would be negative effects on their children. Because who are our role models for how love and marriage works? Our parents or the people who raised us, right? And then they would also have a loss of love and intimacy that they so cherished. They had it before and they wanted it back. And so this is not what they had in mind 15 years ago when they said, I do at the altar. So what happened? What happened? After they got to the point when they said, enough is enough, what happened is that they reached a turning point. And they reached a turning point after they had a huge blow up. I mean, a huge blow up. They were really mean to each other. I mean, the worst version of both of them really came out. And they were both hurting, and they were hurting for, I think took them about a week before they could even say anything. But during that week, they were both processing what was going on. They were both saying to themselves, we can't keep going like this. We can't keep going like this. They were really clear that they wanted their relationship, they wanted their marriage to last. And so they both decided, first on their own, and then they shared with each other, that something had to change. Now, here's the thing about when people say that something has to change. So this is what I've heard over the years. And I think maybe that happened with you and Jesse too. And that is, if something has to change, that something is the other person. Now, can any of you relate to that? When you know that something has to change and you know that your partner is just pushing your last button, it's like everything would be okay if just you would change, right? It's just, how we are as human beings. So Ben and Ada, like many others, had not been introduced to the universal principle of love and marriage. And change is that change begins within. And I like what Gandhi says, that how important it is to be the change that you want to see in the other person. I learned that a long time ago, and I'm not going to bore you with that story this time. So it made sense to them that something had to change, and they were motivated to do something about it. So that is when they were ready for a blueprint, a roadmap, like the one that Jesse and I shared in the book. When they made that decision that something had to change, and they realized that they both had to change, they talked about it and thought about it. And they were thinking, we deserve better. Our children deserve better. And they thought about what I said earlier, and the research backs it up, that how parents argue in front of their children could affect their mental health. Because there's nothing wrong with arguing. It is the way that a couple argues that makes a difference. Because you can argue in a positive way, and get positive results. And that's what they learned, and that's what they discovered in the blueprint. Because as they thought about it more, they were thinking, what kind of role models are we becoming to our children? So they got help. So when they got help, first they discovered that they didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't know the brain was asking questions, is this person safe? They didn't realize they were impacting each other in a way that the way that they landed on the other person emotionally was they were not safe. That was not the best version. When the worst version shows up in any one of us, it is not the best version. Then they discovered the reason why they had difficulty resolving over conflict on their own. They discovered that when they were flooded with emotions, they were not in a problem solving, logical part of their brain. When they were flooded with negative emotions, they were in survival mode, responding to the two questions with the answer no. I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling loved. I've got to protect myself. And people have different ways of protecting themselves, which does not help solve the problem. So they had tunnel vision. They had tunnel vision about I have to survive. I have to protect myself. And they had blind spots to the growth opportunities that were right there as well. And so when they got the help, so that was part of what they discovered when they got the help. So they realized now that they had that information, that there were three things that they had to do. They had to have a new focus beyond survival. They had to know why they wanted to change and what they wanted the change to be. It's real important to know the big why. They had to be willing to change their behaviors and develop new habits. They said, okay, so that's the work to be done. So with the awareness of those three steps, they were ready to implement, learn about the blueprint and the roadmap, and to try it out. So what about you? Can you relate to Ben and Ada? Do you see similarities in their struggles in your situation with your mate? Are you looking for ways to resolve conflict and to enhance your connection? Are you ready for that first step? To first understand what it is that you don't know about yourself, and what you don't know about your mate. If the answer is yes, then I'm going to share more about how to do that in part 2. I'm going to share with you what the blueprint, the Mining for Gold blueprint and roadmap is, why it's important. And I'm going to share, there's 6 couples in this book. It's like 6, actually there's 7 couples, because Jesse and I tell our stories in terms of how we walk through the blueprint and the roadmap as well. And each couple in the story following the blueprint and the roadmap shares their results, because that's the most important part, that they shared their results, because they're results that are available for you as well. Okay, and then there's this other exciting part, the heavy duty endorsements that we received. I'm still humbled by them. Jesse was humbled by them. And I'll share those as well. But for now, I just want you to think about what is happening in your own relationship when you get stuck. And are you at a place and a space in your life and in your heart that you want to get in touch with the growth opportunities for you? Because people in love and marriage relationships, they deserve to have lasting love. They deserve to have a way to grow together and to thrive together. Isn't that the reason why you came together in the first place? Yeah. So next time, I'll talk more about that. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.